Good morning and good evening, everyone. So I welcome every one of you to the Artist Talk series by Photomuse, the Museum of Photography in Kerala, India. Actually, the southernmost state of India is Kerala. I personally welcome all the trustees and patrons of Photomuse, advisors of Photomuse, and all the guests from around the globe and all the photographers who have joined here to this program of Artist Talk by Ronald Hurwitz, and I welcome him specially. I invite Herbert Ashman, Photomuse advisor, to introduce the artist.
Thank you, and good morning to friends and fans around the world. We meet because of the miracle of modern science in its most elegant form, where we can share our thoughts and our feelings, and in this instance, particularly our images, as we are all photographers at heart, now that we have a camera with us at all times. I've known Ron for easily 40 years. And during that time, he has explored numerous different subjects. He's explored landscapes, he's explored street photography, he's done a little bit of portraiture, but his main interest these days is what we call abstractions, which are odd, interesting, and unusual visual images which have no physical context, yet exist in our mind and our imagination as they are stimulated by what we see and what we perceive visually. Ron said that virtually all of the important photographers in history used primarily black and white film, and he rarely deviates from that genre. So he's solidly into black and white, and you can see I've been in that room, which is physically his darkroom, where he produces his own negatives and makes his own prints. And the biggest step, as I said, in his career was into the world of abstraction, which surrounds us, yet no one understands. He has discarded the concept of narrative, which means that these images don't tell a specific story. They exist for what they are, and he can't tell you what his pictures mean. So don't even ask when we get to that part of the presentation. These are images which are produced strictly on a visual and visceral level. You see something and react to it. He hopes to challenge the viewer to spend time looking at his images and finding what they see in the frame, because, as I well know as a photographer, what I see and what you see may be two entirely and diametrically opposite objects, images, etc. I want to circle back for 1 second to the concept of black and white. You live in a world of color. You live in a world where you make decisions on color, you buy clothes on color, you drive cars on color, and if you sat down at a restaurant and they served you green French fries and a yellow steak with a purple cup of tea, you're going to look at that and wonder, because it's not within your frame of reference. It's not color that you can relate to. However, in black and white, as you will see in the 4 different sections that he's going to discuss in terms of imagery, there is nothing on that sheet of paper, or in this instance, the computer screen, except a black and white graphic. It goes from black to white with a myriad of grays in between. And it is up to each individual to organize what he or she is seeing and respond to it emotionally, because there is no information that we can apply to the real world. When you see a black and white picture, literally there's nothing there, but we recognize it, we formulate it, and we respond to it emotionally, so that we have a visceral experience with that image. It all depends on us. It's purely from our perspective, our emotion, and our intellect. Color, as I said, gives you information. Black and white gives you emotion. So with that saying, I will hand it over to Ron, and he will show you numerous emotional images, which I've seen the program. It's gorgeous. I'm sure you will enjoy. And afterwards, we'll do questions.
As a lifelong musician, I played the viola with the Toronto Symphony for 31 years, but photography has been a major role in my process. I love the world of black and white photography, and I've captured photographs with my medium format camera, my Mia camera, and many of my pictures and my books are in museums and galleries around the world. And here is a picture of my book called The Griffins of Paris. I lived in Paris for 2 years and published my limited edition book, The Griffin of Paris, that includes 32 photographs. Now we're going to see 10 photographs of Paris, and they're all in my book. Here we are. These are the rooftops of Paris and the Eiffel Tower. This picture was taken from the top of Samaritan department store, which is one of the largest department stores in Paris. And it is an Art Nouveau building. It was first inaugurated in 1910. And I took the picture because I wanted to get a large view of Paris, and here it is. This is pictures I call a cafe, 10 cents a cup. And this is a beautiful old bar, and with glass window signs and sensuous curves of wooden doors. And I was attracted by this because many of these places in Paris are gone now because of neighborhood gentrification. Let's go to the next one. Two Men in Luxembourg Gardens in Paris. This is in 1986. And I would say every inch of Paris is poetic, but mostly, especially the parks. And this is a place where I spent quite a bit of time when I was living there. And it's a wonderful place to get a moment of serenity and just relax with a newspaper or a sandwich. And I did spend a lot of time there. Next, this is a little iron picture, different iron brackets, and these hold open the shutters in many of the pictures from the 19th and late 18th century also. The artisans who cast these little figures, they're exotic, and they some of them have beards and some of them have hats or turbans. And I showed these pictures to some people I knew at the Bibliothèque Nationale and the Musée Carnavalet in Paris. And they said that they had never seen a picture of these pictures that they call valet de volet, or custodian of the shutters. And I was very excited to know that the people in the major in the major bibliotheques and other places in museums in Paris never had seen a picture, and they're people who know all about Paris. And they did acquire about 24 of these pictures and showed them in an exhibition. Now what we do. I call this Lovers on Valette Street and the Pantheon. In 1993 and 94, I had a sabbatical from my position with the Toronto Symphony, and I spent a year in Paris photographing and playing music. And I lived just down the street from this picture. And one day I went for a walk, and I noticed these people here, along with a very old car. And in the background, you can see the Pantheon, which is a place where many important French luminaries are now buried. I call this crated statue of the statue was named Comedy, and it was in the Tuileries Gardens in Paris, which is very close to the Louvre Museum. And at the Louvre Museum at that point, there was a new construction of a pyramid by the architect I.M. Pei, and they had temporarily moved all of these statues into a different part of the gardens. And a friend of mine called me and said, I think you might find a good photo here. And I grabbed my camera and walked across the river, and I took this picture. It was a lucky coincidence. This horseshoe bar is in an old bistro in Paris. And I arrived there, and I was waiting to meet two twin brothers who were great photojournalists. And while I was waiting for my friend Peter to arrive, I saw the two people at the bar, and all of a sudden they looked outside, and I was ready for that. And I took the picture. I don't know what they saw, but I saw what you can see now. This is not the best translation for the picture, but this picture is the conjunction of a street called Chantre and the Rue des Ursins, which more or less means at the corner of singers and poor children. And having walked several times past this corner with my camera, I believe there would be a potential opportunity for what I would call as an action photo. This day I waited for the right moment, and I clicked the shutter when the bicyclist was at just the right spot. 2 more seconds and the picture would have been gone. Preparation is everything. Jumping Cat, Passage La Tuile in Paris. Patience paid off for me here. On my walk in the northern district of Paris, I happened upon a gypsy circus that was pitching their tents. I focused the camera first on the window, and the cat jumped, and I hope that the bird was within the frame. I use a rangefinder camera and must allow for a little bit of extra space. I developed the film in my bathroom in my Paris room, and after After that, I found that I had allowed just enough to show the bird's head. Experience wins again. This is the last picture we have of the Paris pictures. A seated nude in front of the window in Paris in 1994 during my my sabbatical there. The buzzer rang from downstairs. It was my model. She had fallen off of her bicycle and incurred some nasty bruises. She suggested this crisis might preclude photography. I handed her a soothing glass of champagne, confident she wouldn't back out. Nevertheless, I loaded my 4x5 view camera on my tripod, and I focused on the arm of the chair. I fiddled with my light meter, and as she disrobed and assumed a pose that was captivating and miraculously concealed her bruises. You look very beautiful, I said. Stay just as you are. Before loading the sheet film, again, I looked through the ground glass view camera, and then it was then that I realized another character in our photo. On the balcony of the small hotel across the street sat a man in profile reading a newspaper. If you can see, you can't quite see the man's head here. Maybe you can see it, but he's looking. He was looking right at us. It was my surprising element that added to the scene. In my excitement, I nearly kicked over the tripod. I regained my composure and I refocused. Our uninvited guest, had turned and was now looking directly at us. A chance happening in Paris. These are 10 pictures that I took at night. My interest in night photography came shortly after acquiring my first camera and Brassai's two books, Paris by Night and The Camera in Paris. On a rainy night in Washington, D.C., I shot my first night pictures handheld without a tripod of the Jefferson Memorial and the Constitution Avenue. And these are two, whoops, I want to go back. How do I go back? There are two pictures that I was very lucky to make a first picture of, and those are the first pictures that I ever took. It was a rainy night for both pictures, and it somehow worked very well. This is called A Night, two people. Wow, two people on a bridge in Venice. This was in 2000. During my second year of sabbatical from the Toronto Symphony, I spent a week in Venice making night pictures. In this picture, I caught two people on a bridge over a canal in Venice. What else do I have here? I used the tripod for these pictures because my hand would not be steady enough to, because there was a long shutter speed. And I recall the shutter speed being about half of a second to make the picture. This is another night picture in Venice. Boats on an old canal in the year 2000. Here we see another Venice photo. a narrow one with buildings on both sides, and two small boats tied up to the left side. There is also a small bridge reflected in the water and a well-lit building in the distance. Night fireworks in New York, 2010. This bridge, I'm on the wrong bridge, the wrong picture. This night picture was taken in New Year's Eve from the top of an apartment in Broadway. Once again, I required a tripod to keep the camera from moving on a windy night. The smoke and the fireworks achieved a fine background for the dark buildings, with many lighted windows providing a checkerboard effect, if you use your imagination. Rain on the Bridge of Arts in Paris, 2001. This bridge is a great favorite of mine. It spans the Seine between the Institute on the left bank and the Louvre Museum on the right bank. There are also beautiful views to your right, which we can't see now, and a fine view of the Eiffel Tower if you look to the left, which you can't see either. Shortly after the rain stopped, I made this typical night picture of Paris in the rain. The Red Windmill, or Le Moulin Rouge, Paris, 1998. The Moulin Rouge is a cabaret in Paris on the Boulevard de Clichy, or at Place Blanche, the White Place. In 1889, the Moulin Rouge was founded by men named Zidler and Aller. The original venue was destroyed by fire in 1915. A spectacular world existed here where the Paris party spirit since 1889 was created and experienced. It was part of the Belle Epoque, a period of peace and optimism marked by a particularly rich culture. Exuberance was present at the opening of the Moulin Rouge. Josephine Baker, the great Black singer and dancer, was among the many international artists who performed here. This was the place where the can-can was first danced to a furious rhythm by dancers in titillating costumes. Fireworks, New Year's Eve, Toronto, 2000. These fireworks took place in downtown Toronto, Canada. It was seen from the ground by a small group of people. This time I did not have an available tripod, so I settled for only my steady hand and a 6x7mm Mamiya camera. It worked. At night, steps to Montmartre, Nuit Escalier de Montmartre. Picture taken in Paris in 1994. After being in this location earlier that day, I decided to stick around for dinner in a local bistro and wait for night to fall. My tripod and camera were with me all day and became very useful when the lights were turned on. I read my light meter and adjusted the lens. Shooting several frames, I quickly left to catch the metro back to my apartment. Night, again. And this is downtown Canada. 1997. One evening, I was invited to a friend's apartment for dinner in Toronto. I knew she had an excellent view of the downtown buildings and streets from her roof. Before dinner was served, I excused myself, climbed the stairs to the roof, and shot 2 frames. I returned to a delicious dinner and later made a copy of the successful rooftop photo, and later presented it to her. The Slow Club of Paris, 2003. I had a small birthday party the day before I took this photo. Along with 5 other friends, we met at my favorite place for dinner. It was called Juveniles, a wine bar. The 6 of us knew the owner well. I arrived early and took my usual table. After the meal, Luis, the cook, brought dessert, a huge chocolate cake in the shape of male genitalia. My date had no sense of humor. After that, she demanded we go dancing at the nearby Slow Club in Rivoli Street. We walked there, descended 2 flights of steps into a dark, loud, wild gang of half-drunk, happy people. Maybe some of them were half people. A bit later, my date was hungry again. We walked to another restaurant and ate a platter of shellfish and a 2nd bottle of wine. The next evening, I dragged myself to the Slow Club and made this night picture as a memento of my 40th birthday. Broadway at night, New York, looking south from West 86th Street in 2004. My friends in New York were away for a week and kindly offered their place to me. One night I took my camera, tripod, and the elevator to the roof. I found a perfect view of Broadway looking south. It was well lit up with cars and buildings. If you look closely near the bottom of the road, right here, if you can see that, near the bottom of the road, you can just make out the sign for the Lowe's Theater. Still life and surrealism. Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president of the United States of America and was assassinated. I can't quite see, well, what else do I have? Who was assassinated in Washington, D.C. on April 15th of 1865. You probably wonder what Abraham Lincoln has to do with surrealism, but I saw a photograph of the contents of his pockets after he died, and that's this picture. It appealed to my sense of surrealism, and I began making still life pictures in my studio. And I collected books about surrealism and photographs that added to my new interest. The Count, Toronto, 2006. The Count refers to an acquaintance of mine. I wrote an unfinished biography of his life in Russia around the turn of the century. The caviar tin and partial porcelain glove mold was about his life as a surrealist. When his Russian family lost, what happened here? I lost it. The caviar tin, right, I said that. The glove and mold were about his life as a surrealist. His family, Russian family, lost their caviar business around 1898. the Count was shipped off to Paris. That was where I met him, near the glove store in the Rue de Bac. Floating Hands, #2, Paris, 2004. Les Mains Flottantes. Floating Hands is a surreal photo that cannot be completely understood. How is it possible for both the arm and two hands to be unattached? Also, how can the right hand be under the white piping when her wrist is over the white piping? For sure, it is not a double exposure. Monday, March 21st, Paris, 1988. This photograph is basically a still life. It is a collection of objects, an accumulation of someone's eyeglasses, French francs, and a gold paper clip, Paris metro tickets, a 1988 Paris newspaper, French coins, and a gold pocket watch under a clear dome. What does it all mean? Man Ray's viola, the Alto de Man Ray après Berlioz. This is a one-of-a-kind picture, and it has several levels of creativity. I could ask you to think about the puzzle, but I will solve it for you. I play the viola, and this picture is an homage to Man Ray. Man Ray was a great photographer and a great artist. First, I photographed the model. Next, I wrote the viola music on the model's back, and with the first two bars of Harold in Italy, a concerto by Hector Berlioz. Man Ray was a leading figure in the European and American avant-garde of the 1920s and 1930s, including Surrealism. The French for Ang's violin is a black and white photograph created in 1924 by Man Ray. It's one of his best known photographs of Surrealist photography. It shows the model, Kiki of Montparnasse, from the back, nude to below her waist, with two F-holes painted on her back. Three Rocks and an Oval, Toronto, 2006. The ideal of surrealism here is in the title. It's meant to be something strange. It's from out of this world and incongruous. Woman with Porcelain Hand, Toronto, 1991. This photograph attempts to express the workings of the subconscious. Could the hand be real? Who is holding it? Where is the woman's other eye? Fantastic imagery and incongruous juxtaposition of subject matter are some of those characteristics. It is also an aesthetic philosophy that aims for the liberation of the mind by emphasizing the critical and imaginative powers of the subconscious. Four-part invention in three colors, Toronto, 1996. This meaningless object has a sturdy type of feeling. I enjoy the circularity that is opposed to the solidarity. The musicality of the title calls on the observer to define its boundaries. Can it move? Hand with Cello, Toronto, 1991. A woman I know said she played a cello. It was beautiful and she made no sound. It was printed very dark with a hand under the strings. Is it a man or a woman? Sea Nymph, Galatea, Toronto, 2006. This picture is a reference to one of the sea nymphs and the goddess of calm seas. In Greek mythology, she frequented the coast of Sicily and there attracted the attention of Polyphemus, the one-eyed giant. Where was the missing eye? Abstractions. Here we have 10 more abstractions from the last 6 years of my interest in abstractions. Without the influence of Aaron Siskin, I might have never discovered the world of abstract photography. Aaron Siskin exhibited his work in New York with many of the most important abstract expressionist painters. Aaron Siskin said, "The picture is taken out of context. It's taken out of this world and put into his own world." Where are we? Okay. This is a picture of Aaron Siskin here on the left, and the other two pictures are part of many of his abstractions. Okay, here we are. Toronto. Okay. I call this Toronto negative 95, 97 rather. When I look for potential pictures, my goal is always to find something that is better than my best picture. This picture was part of a wall, but eliminating all of the other material was my idea. I get in as close as possible, thereby eliminating everything else. The reason I don't use a name, I only use the negative number because I don't want the viewer to get an idea. I want of the picture. I want the viewer to look closely at the photograph and get a meaning for him or herself. Paris, the next one, Paris 328. In this picture, I had a more difficult problem, some dripping paint and the near-far dimension. If you got close, there was one effect, and when you step back further, a different effect. What do you see? Let your eyes move around the frame. Paris 314. Walls are fine, but when I find nothing, I check out the pavement. Any flat surface could be potential for me for an abstraction. This picture is an example of learning something else. I always, I was out for a walk and it began to rain. I disappeared into the Paris metro and looked at the walls. Not much light here, but also I have a monopod that helps. I found this favorite picture and it led to a series of abstractions, not only in Paris, but also in the Toronto subway. Paris 284, 2017. My advice for anybody who's interested in abstraction, I would say don't exclude anything that might work for you. Try turning the camera vertically or horizontally. Look for shapes or fantasy. Pay careful attention and avoid parallel lines, either horizontal or vertical. They must be perfect or the photo is ruined. Tarascon, France, number 3. 2018. Investigate ideas such as torn posters or partial signs on walls. Anything that catches your eye might be fun. Use instinct or intuition. Once you have some success, you'll be able to train your eyes to more quickly see potential photos. Paris, 123. A psychoanalyst purchased this picture from me. He described what he saw, and it amused me because it was completely different than what I saw. That's the beauty of abstraction. There is no right or wrong. Paris, 94. There's a simplicity in this picture, but I enjoy the various rectangles that give light versus heaviness to the overall weight. I love the black rectangle. Paris, 83, 2017. This picture provided me with a feeling I could understand the difference between good abstraction and a very good one. It has many of the elements I still look for: a flat surface, material in each corner, not too many empty space, and especially the black area in the white make tension within the frame.
Tension, make tension.
Tension. Didn't I say tension? Yeah, I said make tension. Barcelona, number 2, 2018. Another rule to keep in mind: when I shot this picture, my intuition said it was good, but not quite right. I printed it in my darkroom. Okay, but something still bothered me about it. Eventually, I took the negative, I turned the negative upside down and backwards. Now I think it's very good. Paris, number 486, 2019. I love this picture. My eyes wander all over it. I see all the different shapes. It's enigmatic. I think it's funny. Thank you very much. That is the end.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation of your beautiful black and whites. Okay, now it's open for discussion, and everybody is welcome to ask him some questions or doubts or your appreciation.
This is my first time. Thank you for putting up with me.
No, you did very well. I have a question. You have been a professional musician for more than 30 or 40 years, I think. So has your music helped with your photography, and has your photography helped your music?
Yes. I think that there is a lot of overlap in being both a musician and a photographer. There's the discipline of both arts, and that does help. And I think I know some great musicians who are also interested in photography. Ansel Adams, to name one, and several others that don't come to mind immediately.
Just in terms of context,
Yeah.
this is one of the abstracts, and you can get an idea of the size that he
Yeah.
works at. This, and he didn't show this. This happens to be my favorite of all the ones that he's done in the past.
Good.
So it's basically an 8 by 10. These are not large, massive pieces that are very small and very delicate.
Yeah, looks
Great
good
piece.
to me.
Ron, I want to thank you for the presentation. I thought it was just wonderful, and I loved that how you moved us from the Paris set of photos to the still lifes to the abstract. How that the movement of your ideas and the way you viewed stuff was wonderful. And I have seen the photos before, and I have not seen the abstracts. I have not given them the attention and the seriousness that you did, and it really gave me a lot of insight into those photos that I had not had before, and they were wonderful. And what you particularly liked with the black, you talked about the black bar that you liked, and it's funny because I focused on the brushstroke right above it on that wall. That's the first thing that I looked at, and that was my focus. And you said, well, I really like the black wall. The black bar to me didn't mean anything. So it really was a description as to how we all look at these images a different way.
Thank you very much. And what you say is also what I say about looking at things carefully, and some small items within the frame are sometimes more important than you might not see immediately. So I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And I'm so glad that you pointed out the face of the man in the nude shot. I had totally not seen that. And that just gave that image such a quality. I mean, it just popped out. And of course, the clarity that you get out of your black and whites, and the texture, the softness against the preciseness of it. I think it's just remarkable.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think that the zoom shows the picture very well. But I think if maybe Herb Asherman can either agree or disagree with me, but I think when you actually see the print, you see something that's slightly different than than what you see here.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yes. Are you scratching your head, Danielle, or you have something to say?
Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have something. It's Gary.
Yeah.
Hey, I really enjoyed this presentation. I enjoyed seeing the progression from your earlier works to where you are now. Comparing that to the progression of Western classical music, which also starts in reality, in tonality, and as the years have gone on, it's become more and more abstract. Do you consider that a kind of a normal progression in arts in general, from reality to abstract? And if so, what's next, or is there any going back?
Well, I think in a sense, this is going back, because I don't see anybody making abstract pictures the way Aaron Siskin did. And I don't copy what he did, but I'm influenced by his philosophy, and to some extent by his pictures, but I don't see anybody working this way. And I see a lot of things that don't interest me, unfortunately. But that's a subject that goes across all art, and how it's shown in museums or what isn't shown. So I didn't really answer your question, but I don't think I'm really qualified to say what, certainly not to say what's going to be in the future. Who knows? I also would like to add that I hope that it was clear for the people watching who are interested and amateur photographers, that they got a lot out of this and could understand what I was saying clearly enough.
It was very clear.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I'm happy to see all of you, excuse me, to see all of you here and from so far away.
When you're shooting abstract, do you take a lot of images and just go from there and choose the ones that you feel are the best ones, or are you real particular about shooting each and every image?
I think I'm particular about it, partially because I see a lot of things that I wouldn't really call abstractions, and so I don't want to waste film on that. I will say that usually when I take a picture that's going to be an abstract picture, I usually only shoot one frame, sometimes two, and I have a lot of negatives that I haven't printed yet, and I've got at least 150 pictures that I have printed, and I love walking around cities and looking for things, and it's good, it's healthy to do it. Sometimes I'm in neighborhoods that might not be maybe I shouldn't be in, but I've rarely been accosted by anybody, although I've a number of times I've had people say to me, "What are you doing? You're taking a picture of a wall that has nothing on it," or they don't see what's there. So it's fun, and I also, at this stage of my life in music, I'm having a good time playing also.
Ron, that was terrific. Thank you for sharing your artistry with us. Very
Thank you.
moving, and you're, I hate to admit it, but I think you're a genius.
No, I'm not a genius. I'm just happy, and I work at these things, and I want to thank Herb Asherman for pushing me into doing this, and from helping me also, and especially for the people who are in India, and I hope they, beside enjoying it, they got something out of this that might be helpful in your life of photography.
Happy Thanksgiving, Ron.
Same to you, to everyone. I thank you all, and maybe another time I can do something else if you like.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks,
Really
Ron.
enjoy it.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ron. It was great.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye,
you.
bye, everybody. Nice to meet you.
There is one
Okay.
question written as a message. Ronald, can I read out?
Yeah.
Is it necessary to break away from the established rules of photography to produce works of art? That's a question by Ramakrishnan.
Comparing photography and the rest of the work of art, is that what you meant?
No, he writes, is it necessary to break away from the established rules of photography to produce works of art?
Oh, yes. Well, I think it wasn't really a problem for me, but I, even a long time ago, when I looked at some people's abstract art in the around the turn of the century, like 1910, 1920, 1910 or 1920, there were some people who made some art that was abstract, but it's not like the abstract that I'm doing. I think getting involved with Aaron Siskin's work was really a big help for me. And but there are a lot of people who are doing things that they're using color more for what they would call abstraction. And I think a lot of people are, just do anything, do something that you never thought of doing. That's, as I said, you have to have some imagination, and that picture that I took that was okay, but it didn't really move me. And then when I turned it over and made it upside down, it was completely different, and I like it. So that's, I think that's pretty much what I can say. And I'm glad so many people showed up. And I'm sure that there were people who saw this that, weren't on, although I see Monique's brother now. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ron.
Okay.
Thanks, Ron.
Any more questions?
Gary here. I'm going to ask Ron offline one day why he still prefers film to digital. But we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Don't
Okay.
bother now. We got to go scooting. It's a beautiful day, and I enjoyed this immensely. Thank you.
Oh, it was scary. Oh, great. Okay, thank you all.
Thank
And if anyone has any further questions, or you can get my email and or call me or something, and that be happy to talk to you. Great.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Ron. Take
You're
care.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank,
Have a good
Take
day.
care.
Take care. Bye.
thank you for joining.
Thank you.